Hello everybody and welcome to a Mr. Farney biology video. I do not have a camera set up with me for this particular video or maybe the first couple of videos for our biology class, but I will work on that going forward. So you'll just have to listen to my voice and kind of follow along with what you see on screen here, the slideshow. These videos are going to be kind of broken up into smaller sections so they're easier to view and for you to kind of go back and review later on your own. So instead of having one really long video for the entire unit, it's going to be kind of broken up into subsections. So this first video is about the first part of our Unit 1, focusing on different scientific skills. In our class periods that we have for the first week or the first week or so of school, we were discussing the scientific method and creating our own experiments. Before we get too much into the specificity of that activity or this video, let's just have a brief conversation about scientific processes and skills that you are going to need to know. That's going to help you not only in our class, but science classes that you take going forward. Science, as we know, it's an ongoing process. It's a process that we follow a certain, sequential means in order to get a specific result. That's going to be the same every single time. And this is not only applicable within a science class, but in various things that you encounter throughout your life. You come across a problem, not in the classroom, not even science related. Okay, there's a problem I have to tackle. How do I go about tackling that problem? Well, let me go and do some research. Let me go read a little bit. Okay, I'm not going to conduct the research myself. I'm going to read what's already been out there to see what people have already come up with on this topic. And then maybe I'll, develop my own question to go on related to that information that I've discovered, work through a process, come to a conclusion, maybe gather some information, then come to a conclusion. Maybe I got to kind of revise what I did and then, keep going forward. It's how we solve problems. It's a very specific way within the sciences that we solve problems. We call it the scientific method, but this is applicable not only in our classroom, as we go forward through life. This is just a very technical jargon overview of what we want to keep in mind as far as sciences goes throughout the course of the year. It's kind of three main ideas that we want to kind of keep focused in the back of our head as we work through the different topics throughout the course of our biology class here throughout the year. Is that we're looking at a disciplinary core of ideas in which you have certain concepts within each different field of science and engineering that are fundamental. They're not going to change depending, if you are in biology or chemistry or physics or geology, meteorology, astronomy, anything within the science field, these concepts are going to be unilateral. There's also certain practices and skills that we will use to investigate, model, and solve problems. We call that the scientific method. On this slide, it refers to that as the science and engineering practices. And of course, lastly, we've got cross-cutting concepts. Those of you that took our Earth Systems class, you might be familiar with the principle of cross-cutting relationships that we discussed during the geologic time section. Okay, it's a similar idea here, okay, where you have themes that will cross-cut other themes, okay, that help to connect different principles within science. So it better helps us, solve problems and have a better understanding if we don't put the different subjects in a box. If we look at science as it is very interactive, not only within, let's say, a biology class, but the things that we do in biology and chemistry can overlap, biology or geology, biology and or environmental science, biology and physics. All these different themes, okay, they cross connect and they interact with different disciplines. And through doing so, it helps us to develop better pattern recognition, better understandings of causes and effects, and then we can have a better understanding of what's going on within the systems by, keeping that in mind. Okay. Getting down to the nitty gritty, there are some important terms that we want to make sure that we know, and we discuss some of these within the first week of class. Okay? Observation. I observe. I use my eyes. I see something. Oh, I see something that's interesting. Okay, maybe based upon what I see, I start asking myself questions. Okay, we're doing a build your own lab activity in class, or you chose the paper airplane activity. Okay, my question, I maybe am questioning something about how paper airplanes fly. And I'm going to make a guess or an inference. Okay, an educated guess based upon evidence that I have. Okay, I've made an observation about paper airplanes. Maybe I've read up on paper airplanes. Okay, that's me seeing what's already out there. I am then making an educated guess. Okay, or an inference backed up by that evidence. Okay, that's an inference. We discussed the word hypothesis. Let's see, is that on here? No. Hypothesis kind of goes along with inference. It's an educated guess about something that might happen. Okay, so if I have a question about paper airplanes, about how they fly, maybe an inference is, okay, heavier paper airplanes will not fly as far as lighter airplanes. Okay, that's an inference based upon something that I've read about paper airplanes. Theory, okay, very different from hypothesis, and people tend to mix this up. Okay, a theory is an explanation of an aspect of the natural world based on a body of facts that have been repeatedly confirmed through observation and experiment. Repeatedly is the key word in that sentence there. Okay, hypothesis is just my educated guess about what might happen with something based upon what I've read, based upon someone else's conclusions. Theory, I've tested it several times. I've come to conclusions. I have published that material. Experts in my field or in that field specific of study for whatever I am experimenting on, the majority of the scientists have to agree for that to become theory. Okay, so big difference between theory and hypothesis. And it's an ongoing process. Okay, we did not see this exact picture in class. I showed a different picture of the scientific method, but they all go through a similar process. I make an observation, I see something, I think of a question related to what I saw. I create that hypothesis, I develop testable predictions. Okay, I then go through a methodology that I've created, step-by-step instructions, how to gather data, test my predictions, and then based upon, my conclusion that I have gathered from that data, okay, I might go through the process again. That middle bubble there, the refine, alter, expand, or reject hypothesis, okay, some of the things that we're going to do in our class might involve us rerunning the testable part of the experiment after we run it at least once, okay? We might need to refine some aspect of our experiment to make it run better. Most of the time for things specific to our class, I might just ask you if we were to run this experiment again based upon the data that you have gathered and the conclusions that you have made, how would you refine it, alter it, expand it to improve upon it moving forward? If we have time and if time allows, then yes, we can refine and alter and expand and rerun and retest and gather more data to get better conclusions. We might do that at some part during the school year, but for most of the experiments that we're going to do, we're just going to essentially one time through the scientific method without worrying so much about refining and going back through it a second time. There's some more words that we have to be aware of. Okay, we've talked about hypothesis, procedure. Okay, independent variables, dependent variables, controls, and constants. Okay, control and constants, they kind of go together. Okay, control is something that is just kind of a standardization, meaning this is the expected outcome if I change nothing. Okay, it's the expected outcome if I change nothing. The independent variable on the left hand side here, this is what I am changing. So back to my paper airplane analogy. Okay, my question might be, what weight paper airplane flies furthest? My independent variable, the thing that I am changing, is the weight change. Is it a lightweight paper airplane? Is it a heavy paper airplane? Okay, it's what I am changing. It is independent. It's independently in my control. That is what I'm changing. If it's just the straight control on the right hand side here, I'm not changing anything. I'm just based on the basic generic paper airplane. I'm chucking it. Okay, that's my control group. That's the thing. That's the experiment if I'm not changing anything, is the control. Independent variable, that's the weight change. That's what I'm changing. And the dependent variable, okay, what is changing based upon how I'm altering that independent variable? If my belief, my hypothesis is that heavier paper airplanes will fly shorter, that heavy, that weight, that independent variable, okay, that's going to make my dependent variable, the distance flown, adjust. Okay, because the independent variable, that's what I am in control of. That's what I can change. The dependent variable is what changes based upon the outcome of that experiment. Okay, Many people mix up your independent variable and your dependent variables. This is terminology that you want to make sure you get down early in the school year. It's going to keep coming up. Here's words that I might have used already in class: qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative is data or evidence that's generally an observation or description based. Okay, it's something that's really hard to quantify or put a number to. Quantitative is evidence that can be expressed as a number. So back to the paper airplane, my qualitative evidence, oh, heavier airplanes fly shorter. Qualitative, I'm not putting a number to it. Quantitative, that's a little more specific in this regard. Okay, quantitative, paper airplanes that weigh 300 grams will fly shorter than paper airplanes that weigh 100 grams. I'm putting a number to it. I'm expressing it as a number. Now, there are some experiments in which qualitative analysis are more effective than quantitative and vice versa. It just depends on the type of experiment that you're running. And this is just kind of a basic overview of kind of like where I'm putting some of these different variables. Okay, the D, my dependent variable, okay, that's over here on the left. My I, my independent variable, that's there on the bottom. The y-axis, the x-axis, that's generally where we're going to see these variables show up when we're making graphs and working with graphs in that kind of nature. Okay, it's not always the case. There might be some situations where we have to adjust and flip axes in our graph when we're taking data if we're trying to visualize something in a different manner with a line graph. I know in 9th grade Earth systems, I have students plot atmospheric temperature, and when we do so to get a good visualization of how that temperature changes with elevation, I have them flip the axes. So it's not always going to be left to right linear. We might have to adjust the graph slightly to have a better visual understanding of what's going on. Okay, and that right there, that's our kind of introduction slideshow on the scientific method, some terminologies that we're going to be seeing throughout the course of the year. And yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know. If not, I'll check you guys in the next biology video. Take care.